Aaron, how you doing, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you. It's been many, many years. It's been too long.
It's been a while. It's been a little while.
It has definitely been a while. Well, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast today. And I know it's early morning there in Australia. Here it's late afternoon here in Vegas. Now, where in Australia are you right now?
So we live in Brisbane now. So we moved up here in June 23.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Well,
It was,
we connected in Sydney, and you and your family were awesome. But you're from, targeting you as my friend down under from New Zealand, because yeah, that's where
yeah.
you're from, New Zealand. So tell me a little bit about that, like growing up in New Zealand, and how has that shaped who you are today?
Um, you- yeah, growing up in New Zealand is really different. You don't have as much exposure to the Western world. Um, and well, I didn't. And so we grew up, enjoying life. Cold was cold, and we ran around in shorts and t-shirt and sandals and 8 degrees outside and didn't know any better, right?
Yeah,
um and yeah, so I was yeah, had a great childhood, um and enjoyed every part of it. Loved school, loved playing around and playing rugby, and yeah, enjoying life. And then came over to Australia, and I served a mission from 94, 96 in Sydney, and then moved back 97 to Australia, and came over for a 10-day holiday, and stayed like most Kiwis do when they when they come to Australia.
that's awesome.
And yeah, met my wife a year or so later, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, and got married in 2000. And yeah,
That's awesome.
lived in Sydney for until 23, and then moved up to Brisbane 23. So
Nice. So is that
yeah,
common for Kiwis or people from New Zealand come over for vacation and then they just never leave?
pretty much it's a common story. Australia has a lot more opportunities.
Yeah.
There's a lot more things going on here. The population in New Zealand, while the country's beautiful, the population is not very big, so
Yeah.
opportunities aren't as available as they are in Australia. And so lots of people come over, and we've got nothing else to do but work.
Mhm.
So generally, we get involved in work and then make friends from there.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it kind of rolls out for us.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more sheep in New Zealand than people. I remember
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. A lot more sheep, a lot more cows, a lot more everything, except
Yeah, yeah.
population, not so much.
Well, I think that's
But
part of why I love New Zealand so much. So growing up there, what's a childhood memory or tradition that still influences you today?
um, oof, there's probably a few that I try and have with my children, and try and get them to be involved in. Food is a big part of any Kiwi, Polynesian, Maori family,
Mhm.
and so we generally do things around food. Um, and so Christmas time, we would generally have seafood. And so traditionally, my family and I would go down to the seafood markets in Sydney or here in Brisbane, and we buy some seafood and have it for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's one of the traditions we have. Another one is to be outside, enjoy the sunshine, get your feet on the grass, sand, in the water.
Mhm.
Um, Everywhere in New Zealand, you're close to water,
Mhm.
right? There's water everywhere. And so we like to be by the beach or by some sort of river. Um, and so being outside is important, and being amongst nature is just part of life.
Yeah.
So those two things are probably the main two things.
Yeah.
Just being in touch with nature is important.
That's great. When we moved to Sydney, our family was definitely not used to, ha- you know, Christmas time is the summertime down under. So we were not used to the beach and the warm weather, and it was so weird. No snow, no snowmen. It was just a different feeling, but it was fun. We would, we'd make our way to the beach and do some hiking, and that's great. Now, at which island are you from? The North or South Island?
I'm from Auckland, which is in the North Island.
Okay, cool.
I spent yeah, we didn't really move around too much. We have what we call a batch or a holiday home in a place called Oputari, which is in on the east coast on the Coromandel.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful, secluded spot. I spent almost every weekend and every school holiday was there. So we were always running through the bush or in the water, fishing, swimming down through the estuary and that sort of thing, just to, with your friends, camping out middle of nowhere in a hole. I have this memory of being in a sleeping bag. We found this hole. There's probably 7 or 8 of us, and we've just jumped in our sleeping bags and then jumped into the hole, and people are piled up on each other, um, and just trying to keep warm.
Yeah,
I don't think we got any sleep. I think we were out hunting goats or something,
yeah,
um, but I remember just trying to keep warm, and it was futile. We didn't achieve it, but it was just one of those experiences you have when you're young and out there enjoying life.
that's awesome. Well, Auckland is a super cool city with lots. Well, I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But so we've known each other for many years now, and what's something that's been just very challenging or very difficult for you that ended up being very rewarding? There was a big silver lining to that challenge.
Hmm. um, Probably. Oh, there's probably a couple. Um, One has been education. Education. I grew up in a family where education wasn't high on the priority
Yeah.
list. My my dad was big on, son, you just got to get a trade and learn a trade and go to work. Um, and had the mentality of, uh, yeah, learning to be a builder, plumber, whatever, and go get a job somewhere and you stay there for the rest of your life, kind of thing. My His father was very educated, and his their fathers were very educated, so they were accountants, engineers, and it kind of just died off as it came down the line. To my dad, but it was just like, nah, just go get a trade. And I started. My parents got divorced. I lived with my dad, and he was pretty keen for me to join the army, and so I had these plans to join the army. And just right before I was doing that, I joined the church and I was baptized, and so that changed a lot of things about my decisions for the rest of my life. Um, I joined the church, and um, under the proviso that I didn't have to go on a mission. And a year after my baptism, I went on a mission, and that was probably the pivotal of everything. And I learned there that there's more in life than joining the army, um, and life can be whatever I want it to be. And so I went from there and just made the most of what I could and what I'm doing now. So I'm kind I it's hard to explain what I do now. I have 4 different companies, and I'm pretty much semi-retired. Um, don't really do a lot. I'm involved to some degree, but I'm looking for something else, which probably can go into a little bit later if you want.
Yeah.
Um, but that's probably been the challenge, was education. So I've focused a bit more on education later with my children than I should have done. I should have focused a bit earlier. But I see that education is a lot more important than I had been raised to believe. Um, and nowadays people don't work in a job for the rest of their lives anymore.
Right.
They move around, and we have opportunities where we can change industries, um, anything that we want, right? There's always an opportunity if you've got a desire. So I think we need to be a bit more open to education, and well,
For
I
sure.
need to be a bit more open to education.
Yeah, I think you're preaching to the choir. I think everyone is on the same page there.
Yeah.
Now, what's something unique about your Kiwi, your New Zealand heritage and culture that you're really proud of?
I'm part Polynesian, so my mum's side of the family are Polynesian. They're from an island called Niue.
Mm,
Niue is near Tonga, so it's a small little island. Um, I took my grandmother there in 2000, and I'm going to say 15. It could have
mhm,
been 13, somewhere in there. And when you're flying there, the pilot will tell you, oh, there's Niue if you look out the right side of your window. And so we looked out, and it's so small, you wonder how the plane's going to land. Um, but yeah, when it's a tiny little place. There's 750 between 750 and 1200 Niueans living on the island.
Wow.
Um, that's all that there is. It's heavily supported by New Zealand, Australia, um, and probably China now, to be honest. It's quite a central point where it's located in the Pacific Islands,
Mhm.
and so there's some there's some advantages to being able to use it for different things. Um, but that heritage has helped me learn more about who I am, where I'm from, um, and understand me a bit more.
Mhm.
I probably gravitate to that because we spent most of when we're with family, it's generally from that side of the family, from my mum's side of the family.
Mhm.
And so I was always around Polynesians and grew up with the food, the ideology, all that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
super
probably,
cool. That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, we met in Sydney at church. We had a lot of our friends in Sydney are from the Polynesian Islands, just scattered all over the place. And so, and a
yeah.
lot, end up in New Zealand or they're in Sydney. But speaking of all that food you're talking about, what's a local dish to Niue or New Zealand that you think everybody needs to try, or what's something that we don't know about?
Okay, so in Niue, there's a dish called takihi, and
Takiki.
takihi is yeah takihi. So it's delicious, right? But it's like a lasagna. Probably the
Okay,
best way to
I'm
describe
in.
how it's made. Well, okay, let me explain that first.
Okay.
So it's made using Niuean taro. So each island has their own taro. New Zealand,
Mm,
Niue's taro is called I forgot what it's called now. It's a white taro, and
mhm,
so it's generally a bit starchier, I
mhm,
think. But when you slice it, so you slice it up, it's like a big potato. You slice it up, and then you layer it into a dish, like a lasagna dish, and
mhm,
then you put a layer of pawpaw on, and then you salt, pepper, taro, pawpaw, salt, pepper, and coconut cream, and
mhm.
onions as well, right? And so then you bake it, and you bake it for about an hour and a half, somewhere in there, and it's yeah, delicious.
Oh, wow.
Um, and so I grew up. I have a couple of aunties that made it really well, and I have a couple of aunties that weren't really good at it. But it's beautiful. But in New Zealand, by far, the dairy is probably the
Hmm.
best in the world. And so, ice cream, like we grew up with all different types of flavors of ice cream. And then
Yeah.
when I came to Australia in '94 on my mission, they had vanilla, they had chocolate chip, and they had Neapolitan, which was like a chocolate vanilla and a strawberry.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
That was all they had. And it's like, it just, it just disappointed, right?
Sure.
Um, and yeah, flavored milk, they pretty much had chocolate and strawberry, and that was all they had there as well.
Mm.
They've developed a bit more, still not fantastic, but yeah, like in New Zealand, you just have so many more different flavors of everything. So
Yeah. Well, when we moved to Australia, like I think that's our go-to dessert is ice cream. And we got
Yeah,
to Sydney and we're like, this ice cream sucks. Sorry to all my Aussie friends. But like we are like, how can you it was just like pumped full of air. I'm like, this
yeah,
isn't real. I'm sure they've gotten better. They do have a Costco, there's some ways to get good ice cream, but it's not like a normal just a hey. And anyway, I got in a lot of trouble for telling people how bad their ice cream was down there. But then we went to New Zealand and it was way better.
yeah.
And I'm like, this is really close to each other. How are we this far apart? What's going on here? So yeah, that strikes a chord with me.
I think the grass is better. The cows just enjoy
The
eating the grass
the
a bit
cows
more.
are happier in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, that's great. Well, tell me, what's your favorite place? I know we were talking, you just got back from Korea and Japan. You're from New Zealand, you're in Australia. What's your favorite place to travel and why?
Ooh. Um, I really enjoyed Korea.
Hmm.
Um, I probably like a lot of the Eastern countries like Thailand, Japan, Korea. Um, they they don't always have a lot, but they're always happy.
Yeah.
Um, and they make the most out of what they have, and they're always polite and friendly.
Hmm.
Um, and so probably they probably resonate a bit more with me, and um, they're just careful, just a bit more happy. We don't know if you want to hear this, but in Korea we started like you get off the plane and you go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom, the cleanest bathrooms in the world, I reckon,
Right?
in Korea. It didn't matter where you went as well. You could have gone on the side of the street, like some little toilet, and it was just clean.
Yeah.
I could not believe how clean it was. You can't do that here in Australia.
Yeah,
I mean, you're taking a risk if you have to use a public bathroom. But
sure.
um, I just was really impressed about how clean and efficient and friendly people were, and respectful they are with each other.
Mm.
Um, they they just seem to be. Um, I want to say happier, but this respect is much better. In Japan, seeing the children go to school, they're excited to see their friends. Not that we aren't either, but they're respectful when they cross the road. They bow to say thank you to the traffic, um, and everyone is aware of everybody. So
Yeah.
I really that was just amazing to see, and the kids, I didn't see an unhappy kid going to school. They place so much importance on education.
Yeah,
Um, it was just really cool to see. So I, I, I'd say any Eastern country that I've been to has probably been just amazing
cool. Yeah,
to
it's
live
good. I
through.
think traveling is really eye-opening for people to, realize what's important, or you get some good ideas and take it back home and start implementing that, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Um, what's something about New Zealand or the New Zealand culture that you wish more people understood better?
Um, the New Zealand culture is very family orientated. Um, they we so they like I'm not New Zealand. We place a lot of importance on family and the respect for family, and families is the main focus of everything.
Mhm.
Um, we one of the things that came up in Japan was you take your shoes off when you go inside the house, and generally in a New Zealand home, you take your shoes off before you go inside the house. It's very rude to keep your shoes on and go inside the house, and so that's a that's a um, it's something I think I wish I'd done better here in Australia, because I think the respect of the home and the environment you're in plays a big role of what you do inside the home.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was really cool to see. But in New Zealand, we the whānau or whānau is very important, and so everything kind of is about family,
Mhm.
and so you generally come together and eat together as a whole family, or you do things as a family. and I'm talking about extended families like aunties and uncles, you'd
Okay.
always have just a big gathering. It wouldn't just be Christmas and Easter; it would generally be the weekend.
Hmm.
And every weekend there'd be something going on with somebody, and getting
Yeah.
everyone welcome. And that then permeates over to death as well. So when a family member dies, there's a gathering, and generally the person who's passed comes back into the home. So they go off to be, I guess, cleaned up, and then they're brought back into the home, and the family gets to spend time with their beloved who has passed, and is able to say farewell, and that helps the healing process. It helps the just being able to spend that last bit of time, even though your family member has died. So
Yeah.
that's something that I really like. It can be quite confronting. I remember the first time my wife, we went to a passing of an auntie, and she was inside the home, and so even though I had told my wife, "Hey, my auntie's going to be there," it was hard to grasp. Hey, she's actually there, and
Yeah.
people along with her, and hugging, kissing her, and just spending that last bit of time with her,
Yeah.
so generally they would stay in the living room, and people would sleep in the living room. They'd pull out blankets and stuff, and everyone just gather together. Um, it's interesting, but it's just one of those things that I think help um, you to connect to your family and stay connected to your family.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So would you perform the haka at a funeral?
Yeah, so the hakas generally, so you there's many different types of hakas,
Yeah.
uh, and so each school you know not everyone plays rugby, but you generally play rugby.
Yeah.
Um, and so you learn your school haka, and then you do your haka before your game, and the other team will do their haka. And it's um, uh, a welcome. It's a prideful thing. It's we're going to beat you, but you bit of camaraderie.
Sure.
But you perform hakas at different ceremonies as well. So you may have seen a haka at a funeral in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Many Kiwis here, and it's a sign of respect. And so yeah, it's it's an important part.
Love that. Well, in New Zealand, there's so many cool people in New Zealand, and it's such a, you know, it's very different. Like the South Island and the North Island, it's amazing how different they are. Because that was one of our most fun family trips. We started in Queenstown, which is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. With all the water and the glaciers and the mountains and then the flowers and just beautiful. And then we worked our way up to the North Island. And I remember, I mean, it's just different. It's instead of the fjords and the mountains, it's the rolling hills and the sheep. And then up in Auckland, the big city. And then one of the coolest beaches I've ever been to, we went to Piha, which is, I don't know if it's like 45 minutes west. Is it west of Auckland? And
Yeah.
black sand everywhere. It was just so cool. And so I'm just always so surprised how different New Zealand is. It's just stretched from north to south and it's got everything.
Yeah, you're right. The South Island's probably the prettiest.
Yeah.
Um, it's the less populated place in New Zealand, um, but it's yeah absolutely beautiful, um, and you can do so much
Mhm.
um, fun things. There's so many outdoor activities for such a cold place. There's so many things going on, right?
Yeah.
Um, and in the North Island, a bit more populated, a bit warmer, and so you get those rolling hills, like you said, and um, yeah, the sand is really interesting in New Zealand, right? You on the east coast, it's very white, and then on the west coast, you can get a lot of pockets of black sand and just different
Is
environments.
that just from volcanoes or the currents or what's up?
Yeah, so it's very volcanic on that side of it's up through that the plate shifts, and so it's yeah
Hmm,
very much from there.
cool.
But it's beautiful.
Aaron, who's been a major influence in your life and why?
My father's is, I would say, is my major influence. He he always taught me to be honest, respectful, um, and always look out for other people. Um, you grow up being, if you're on a bus or public transport, to stand for the elderly, to that sort of mannerism, and so having a dad that I knew that he loved me, although he probably he wasn't an emotional type person, right? So he
Yeah.
didn't really show it or tell you, um, but he was always just honest, regardless of whether it was nice or not.
Yeah.
He would just be honest with you. If I said, "Oh, Dad, can I borrow some money?" He would just go, "No," and and then you're like, "Oh man, I really need it." He's like, "Sorry, son," and his thing was more about, if I lend it to you, you won't actually go off and you'll just rely on me. And so I'm training you to not rely on me, but to rely on yourself and go off and do what you need to do. And so that was, although it was difficult and hard to deal with at the time, it was just something that that he is and was like, and that helped me to be a better person as well, to be a bit more reliant on myself. And then if I couldn't afford it, then I can't have it.
Yeah.
And so that's just the way it is. Um, and when I joined the church, my family, I was raised Seventh Adventist, and when I joined the church, my dad was like, "Well, if that's your choice and that's what you want, then you've got to do what you think's right." And so I didn't get any kickback from him. He was just supportive and said, "You've got to make choices that benefit you, Aaron. You can't um, you can't lead your life someone else running your life. You have to make your own choices."
Yeah.
And so he's my hero, my someone I respect and love. He's passed now, so but I was just thinking of this time you grew up thinking your dad's the biggest, strongest person in the world,
Yeah.
and that was certainly my case. And then I remember after my mission, I was living with my dad, and I was mucking around with wrestling and stuff, and then my younger sister jumped in as well, and I had them both pinned down. And I was thinking to myself, this guy's not that strong at all. He wasn't very tall. I'm 6'4".
Mhm.
My dad's five. I think he was like 5'8",
Oh,
somewhere
wow.
five, somewhere in there. My mum's about the same height, and so but you when you're young, you kind of your dad's this big strong man,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was one thing that kind of shocked me a bit. I'm like, oh man, he's really not that strong at all.
Right.
It was one of those things.
Yeah, I'm starting. I hate to admit it to my sons, but my two older sons, I mean, they're taller than me now. So I'm like,
Yeah,
you know, anyway, they still think I can beat them in everything. So we'll let that ride for a little bit longer.
that's good.
Um, if you could go back 10 years and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
Um, probably just do it,
Hmm,
um, and don't procrastinate.
hmm,
There's some things that you think, oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? Is it really gonna it you're actually going to do yourself an injustice by not doing it.
mhm.
Um, and that's whatever it may be, right? Maybe take the holiday, start the new job, go on a new adventure, try something new. Um, yeah, that's probably what I'd say, tell myself. Any time going back, like with this 40 years, it's
Yeah, yeah.
that's probably what I'd say.
That's great advice. What's something funny or unique about you that most people don't know about?
It, I have no idea. um, Unique or funny?
Yep.
Um, I have no idea. Um, I yeah, got
That
a drawing a blank. Drawing a
don't worry.
blank.
How about what's your recommendation for someone that's never been to New Zealand? Where should they go first? What should they do?
Definitely go to the South Island.
Hmm.
Uh, there's some places there that are just uh, amazing. There's a place called Blue Lake in Picton.
Hmm.
I don't know if you went there. It's got the clearest water in the world. Doesn't
Wow.
matter where you look in, you can see everything. You spoke about Queenstown
Hmm.
um, and the beauty that's there, but pretty much anywhere you go in New Zealand is just amazing, right?
Hmm.
Did you go to Wanaka, which is just north
Okay.
of Queenstown? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
that
had
was
all
beautiful.
the flowers and like Lake
Yeah,
Wanaka as
like
well.
Wanaka. Yeah,
It
yeah.
looked
And
like
the
it
little
looked like
trees sitting.
the blue Gatorade, the whole lake.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. I went there with our friend Wes, right?
Yeah.
And so we were just like, wow, this is beautiful. We were eating, we got something from the bakery, and we were eating something in the bakery, and we were like, wow, this is beautiful. We could live here. So then we went and look at property prices, only to learn that, whew, no, it's probably a bit out of our price range. Well, certainly out of mine. Wes is probably going, oh, I might buy two or three of these places. Um, but yeah, it was just beautiful, right? But anywhere in the South Island, anywhere in the North Island is lovely as well. But you would do yourself a disservice if you didn't go to the South Island.
Yeah,
If
I
you
agree.
travel, especially coming from America, if you don't go to the South Island, probably just a wasted trip, I think.
Oh, good. What's something that you're really grateful for right now?
I'm grateful for everything. Um, I'm definitely grateful that I came to Australia. I think Australia is one of the best countries in the world.
Agree.
It has great opportunities, um, and yeah, there's just so much in this country that's great and wonderful, and I probably should spend more time traveling around this country rather than going off in other
Yeah,
countries. But it's just something we people do, right?
sure.
We always think we've got time to experience what's in our own backyard,
Mhm.
and then we run out. But yeah, certainly where I live, my family, my testimony, um, those are probably the three things that I'm really grateful for.
Love it. If you had one option to live in a place for the rest of your life, would it be the mountains or the beach?
Beach.
Beach.
Yeah, I need to be close to the water. It's who I am. It's
Yeah.
how I was raised. I can get food in the water. I'm not good at hunting.
Mhm.
I can, yeah, just I'm not quiet enough for hunting. Um, but I'm much calmer. I feel better. Like the ocean where we live now, the ocean's not far at all.
Yeah.
It's a 7-minute walk.
Oh man,
Uh, so we're much closer now, and
that's great.
but yeah, just need to be close to the water.
Well, you've got some of the best beaches there I remember from that Gold Coast to Sunshine Coast, that whole stretch is just gorgeous.
Yeah. So we're just north of Brisbane,
Okay.
about
That's
25 minutes.
Sunshine.
Oh, probably in between.
Okay.
In between. So yeah, we're just out in a peninsula, which is it's just beautiful, and it's probably a bit quiet for my wife.
Mhm.
It's so good.
Nice.
There's heaps of retirees around here, so I, I've made heaps of friends that are like 20, 30 years older, and I joke around with them a bit, have a bit of fun, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's great.
Pretty cool.
And if I were to ever try to go to Niue, how do I even get there?
You're flying through Auckland,
Hmm.
um, unless you're in. Oh, yeah, it's probably the best way to do it. Yeah, fly into Auckland, then fly over Auckland to Niue. It's a
Oh,
direct. There's only one flight a week.
oh wow.
Yeah, so you'll leave, and they're a day behind. So if you leave on a
Fascinating.
Saturday, arrive on a Friday, um, And when you're in Niue, everybody goes to church.
Uh-huh.
So if you don't go to church, doesn't matter what church you go to, but you go to church.
Yeah.
If you don't go to church, the minister will tell your family member, "Hey, so and so's not here. You got to go get them." So they'll come and get you and bring you to church. That's just the way it is.
I like that. That's
Yeah,
cool. So you lose a day when you travel there
yeah.
and then gain a day yeah. I
So
remember.
sorry, it's a once a week flight. So once you land, if you decide you don't want to be there any longer, that's
Yeah,
that's
you
all very well, but you can't go anywhere,
tough
right?
luck. 1 week. Wow.
And you can drive around the island in about 40 minutes at 40 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
small.
not very big, right? And that's with a couple of stops here and there too, right? It's not
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a like Moana's island, just something nice and
Yeah,
small.
yeah, probably good description.
Well, this has been awesome, Aaron. One last quick question. What's a book or a movie that you recommend everybody watch or read?
Book or movie? Um, probably, probably don't have the best choices in either. Um, uh, I like the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah,
Uh, that's a book that kind of resonates with me. I feel like I have almost become that a little bit. And yeah, it's something I like. And The Richest Man in Babylon.
mhm.
Um, they're two books that I kind of like. And movies, Shawshank Redemption's probably
Good one.
the highest on the list. Yeah.
Love it. Well, awesome. Well, Aaron, you're always so much fun to be around and to talk to. And how can people connect with you if they choose to go to New Zealand or Niue? What's the best way to sync up with you?
Probably best way on is on Instagram.
Instagram. Okay.
And my handle is Kiwi as Kiwi. What's that bottom line thing? And as
Underscore
AZ.
as.
Yeah. And that's probably the easiest. And in UA, oh look, they're it's very small, so everyone will know everybody, right? You'll
Yeah, yeah.
connect to real quick. But yeah, in Australia, New Zealand,
Well, I'll put that in the show notes, and we're gonna have to do this again. So tell all my Aussie mates and Kiwis hello for me.
we'll do. We'll do. It's good to see you.
You too. See you, Aaron.
See you, mate.